name is Sandi. I'm originally from Croatia. I live in the UK for the last 5 years. I'm the CEO of Calimero network, which is essentially blockchain for enterprises. Before that, I worked at Google, spent 2 internships there, 1 year in total. Worked at Facebook for 2 years. I got introduced to blockchain in 2016. Worked in a blockchain company, went to Facebook, went back to a blockchain company 3 years ago. Called Near Protocol, which became a unicorn, raised more than $700 million. And currently my startup is a spin-off from that company. Recently we raised $8.5 million from top investors, including Khosla Ventures. Khosla Ventures is, for example, the first investor in OpenAI. So if you think that OpenAI just happened over the night, it didn't. It took 9 years. It's a very similar story with blockchain, and today I'm gonna hopefully introduce you a little bit more. I wanted to ask how many of you ever used blockchain here? Okay, great. So this is the right talk for you. So there's like one concept and one word. The question is like, what is the problem blockchain is trying to solve? And many people, try to come up with different ways of like explaining what a blockchain really is. And in my simpler words, it's trust. Next slide. Yes, trust. So the only problem blockchain is actually in the core trying to solve is trust. And why? Because current internet is designed in a way that, do you trust Facebook? I worked at Facebook. Do you trust that Facebook will do everything in their mind to, do the best interest for you or for them? Do you trust Google? Maybe Google, decides to change something you don't like and you don't, have the option to change this. Even, if you have governments, do you trust your government? Like some people don't trust their governments. We have a lot of corruption across the world, and many of these things can be solved by blockchain. How? Current entities are centralized, so every entity, stores their data, owns your data, you cannot do anything about it. But a better system is if you have a decentralized system, which means that the data, the compute, and everything is like distributed across many units. To give you an example, would you trust rather 1 bank or 5 banks ensuring that your money is safe? Would you trust 5 ministries or 1 ministry more? Would you trust 1 friend over like a lot of friends making sure that your data is safe? Probably the more, the better. It's the same concept with blockchain. The more validators and nodes you have operating a blockchain, the safer it becomes. So how does a blockchain work? It's very simple. There's a lot of cryptography behind it, a lot of complex maths, but in simple words, like you have a key pair. A key pair is something which is 1 pair of the key pair is public, everybody knows it. So for example, my key pair can be, let's say, Sandi, and everybody knows that this key pair is, my public key. If they want to interact with me or send me money, they can do it. But nobody can send money in behalf of me because I hold my private key. So the other, it's like a digital certificate proving that I am the owner of that record. So what you would usually do, you would, sign a transaction, send it to the blockchain. Every node in this decentralized system would take this transaction. They would validate, did Sandi really sign this transaction? Did really Sandi wanted to do this thing? And once it gets accepted and verified, a block is created. And what is a block? A block is essentially a number of transactions. So like all the transactions which you have inside the block, you can have like maybe in Bitcoin 7, in Ethereum more. In some more advanced systems like Near Protocol, you can have hundreds of thousands of transactions inside the block. But the block takes all these transactions, computes something what we call a state transition. So if I send money to, let's say, Mario, once this transaction has been accepted, the state change will be, I have less $5 and Mario has $5 more. And then what are the benefits of a blockchain? First of all, it's immutable, so data integrity. Nothing can be changed on a blockchain if you didn't want it to be changed. Enables privacy, that's a questionable thing because there's public blockchains. We're going to talk about what type of blockchains you have, but like, decentralized blockchains like Ethereum, Near, Bitcoin, they're all public, but there's ways to increase privacy. It's all transparent and auditable because you can see every record, how it happened. And then, of course, it's decentralized, it's shared, it's temper resistant, and in the end, it's secure. So, what are the types of blockchain? Public blockchains, we mentioned that. So these are blockchains which are essentially a public good. Everybody can use a public blockchain. On the other side, what I do hybrid blockchains. So what is a hybrid blockchain? A hybrid blockchain is a combination of a private blockchain and a public blockchain. So there is some data which is stored privately inside the government, inside the bank, inside the financial institution, but some of the data is actually being publicly transmitted to the network. And currently we have seen a lot of private blockchains, like Hyperledger, Corda. They're used in governments, they're used in UK banks for tokenization of bonds, they're used for carbon credits. We've seen a lot of consortiums like banks running blockchains, not here in Croatia though, but outside in the world people use it. But the best approach, in my opinion, is a hybrid approach, because there is data which shouldn't be public. You don't want to know, everybody in the world to know, what are you doing on a public blockchain, because if you do, it's worse than Facebook. If you give data to Facebook, Facebook can only use it. If you give it to the whole world, everybody can use it. And that's a problem. And that's the problem we are trying to solve at my company. So, to debut some myths, there are like some myths about, why blockchain. And I just wanted to mention one thing which got me excited about, I worked at these big companies. And I was like, I love-hate relationship. I love blockchain, I hated blockchain. And the thing is, it's a powerful tool. It's what internet was supposed to be. Currently, little entities, big entities own it. But imagine Facebook bans you. In a blockchain system, you have now social networks where you can just take your user base and monetize it through a decentralized front end, and you still don't lose, the monetary value of the system. And people say, Bitcoin, the most terrible network in the world right now, uses more electricity. It's very heavily consumption, big CO2, emissions, which is not really true. It uses more electricity than Switzerland, but it's still pretty small comparable to the rest of the world. And the carbon emissions, if you take a look, 41 million metric tons are less than tumble dryers. So tumble dryers today make more carbon emissions than Bitcoin. But that's not the end. Bitcoin was just a proof of concept, in my opinion, and we came up with better networks, proof-of-stake networks, where instead of using electricity, we can use financial incentives to secure the network. So essentially how it works. If I do something malicious, I get penalized. So the incentive, it's like game theory, I don't want to be penalized if the incentive is, if I can steal $1,000, but I'm going to be penalized $10,000, it doesn't make sense. And that's how all these blockchains work. And I worked at Near Protocol. It's carbon neutral. So one of the first carbon neutral protocols out there. It doesn't use that much electricity. It's highly scalable. It's amazing, but it just took a lot of time. Like OpenAI, took a lot of time. And still, we are in the early days of blockchain. If you take example of the internet, nobody asks ourselves how Microsoft Windows. How many people use Microsoft Windows? Everybody does. How long did it take? Once you get home, see how much time did it take to develop Microsoft Windows. Facebook, I worked at Facebook, 4 years ago? 5 years ago, yeah. It still doesn't feel like a fully finished product. It takes time. Technology takes time. First, we started with Bitcoin, proof of work. Then we started with proof of stake, so Ethereum, Near, all these new blockchains. But now we have other blockchains like sidechain. Calimero is a sidechain. These are specific chains designed for a specific purpose. So if you want to have a gaming shard, you want to play games, you can have a sidechain which is specifically for gaming. If you want to have a government shard for, let's say, voting, you can have a government shard for, Croatia could run a shard, all the ministries would run the validators, we could have, many problems solved. And there's a lot of negative buzz about blockchain, scams and stuff. But we don't talk about the good stuff in the world. Many people are unbanked. 1.7 million people in the world unbanked globally. They don't have banks. They started using Bitcoin. They started using blockchain. Argentina, Brazil, India. Also, it opens up a big global market. Ukraine, the war started. A lot of, terrible thing happening in the Ukrainian war right now, but they needed funding. And one of the things which the crypto community did, we raised $170 million since this year to support, the war. Humanitarian action inside Ukraine. And these things are not so talked about, and I think they should be visible because banking systems fail. Banking systems are centralized, and blockchain is not. And currently, I wanted to talk more about, what are the actual use cases, but I, figured out that probably many people don't know what blockchain is, so it's going to be an overkill. But there's like many use cases where ESG and green tech can be combined with blockchain. For example, energy, peer-to-peer grids, monitoring like how much electricity is being consumed, build settlement markets for these. Environmental treaties, you could track like how much funding is going to which environmental treaty, to which one the funding was sent to. Non-profits, as I said, carbon tax, that's like one of the use cases which is commonly used in the banks. Like you want to tokenize the carbon credits, you want to track them, you want to trade them, you want to see what is the quality, if it's the tree, how much tree, you have auditors. Supply chains, currently Walmart is like one of the biggest deployment, uses it for on time and full, making sure that all the contractors delivering their stuff actually have delivered. But to give you an example, traceability in supply chain has been talked a lot. So you could build a blockchain where every participant has a private key, and you could track these, from harvesting to landing, processing, distribution to the consumer. On Calimero, we have a product which is being built on top of our platform for bill of lading. For you who don't know, bill of lading is the paper you get when you want to ship a cargo shipment. So if you want to ship microchips from China to somewhere else, you get the paper. They digitalize this process, and then by digitalizing, they can build open markets for reselling these goods. Traceability in waste management, same problem, same solution. You can have different parts of the waste chain. So, from waste collecting, recycling, transfer stations, converters, every part of the, supply chain can be decentralized or federated consortium. And then you can have, various, traces of like what actually happened during the process. Carbon credits, I mentioned that, so enabling tracking of carbon credits, measuring the quality of carbon credits, double counting, builds credibilities in the carbon market, retrading of the carbon credits, and generally bonds, for example, are also good. Carbon credits are a good example, but bonds are also bonds are highly liquid. If you want to buy bonds, $200,000 or more, it's very hard, takes 5 to 10 days to settle. If you put it on a blockchain, you can fractionalize it, you can fractionalize real estate, make various improvements to the current markets we have. And governments, last, should adopt blockchain. I think many governments are working on adopting blockchain right now. As you see, lack of digitalization. We are talking about digitalization for many years. Many of these things can be put on a blockchain. Not everything should be put on a blockchain, just to mention that as well. Corruption could be prevented. Like if we had stable coins, they could be tracked, used. Privacy issues, voting. Governments are usually inefficient and slow, not very willing to adopt technology, which is sad, but that's it. And then last thing, the last thread I have, it's AI. We don't know what is going to happen in 5 years, 10 years from now. Fake content being generated everywhere. Somebody takes your video and put something you said you didn't say, and you will have to have a way to verify what was AI generated, what was not AI generated. All of this stuff can be publicly put on a blockchain, used by every company. Agents, you probably want to have reputation system for agents in the future. You have reputation system for humans. You ask somebody, is this human good or not? We rate things on Google Maps, restaurants. But if you really believe in the future that AI will gonna talk to each other, probably they will have to have some kind of reputation systems as well. And last, people say enterprises will never adopt blockchain. And I tell them, 10 years ago, they said they will never adopt cloud. Everybody uses cloud now. They said, we will not ever be digitalized. Today, everybody's digitalized. New big buzzword, big data. Now, what's this big data fuss about? And the same gonna happen here. 5 years, 10 years from now, I think every business will run on a blockchain. Thank you so much. And if you want to learn more, check out Calimero. We are a blockchain as a service provider for enterprises. If you want to learn more, find me today at the conference, and thank you very much. And one thing I would just want to have 15 more seconds. The stuff you see in news, there's a lot of bad actors, but there's a lot of bad actors in every industry. And most of the people who join the blockchain industry like me, they actually want to make an impact and a change prevent corruption, build better systems, and bring this technology to life. Thank you so much.